Well, Fox News is America's election headquarters as we count down to tonight's debates among Republican candidates for president without frontrunner Donald Trump right now. Preps are well underway at the Iowa Event Center in Des Moines. With Donald Trump out of the mix, Ted Cruz will be the highest polling candidate on the stage, and many of his supporters worry if Cruz doesn't do well in the caucuses, he might not have another chance to kind of catch up here. In the meantime, other reports suggest Republican Party leaders are ready to endorse anyone but Ted Cruz. Interesting. The jockeying for the candidate who represents the party brings up a bigger question about the state of the GOP this year. With Peter Hart writing in the Wall Street Journal, quote, in 2016, Republicans have a party problem and Democrats have a candidate challenge. Let's bring in Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, presidential candidate in 2012, and Fox News contributor. We were just talking during the break. You like politics, right, Mr. Speaker, but you don't necessarily miss being a part of it.
Well, I just think, look, I find being able to comment on Fox and watch what's going on, I feel like I'm part of it. But Trump has created such an extraordinary dynamic, and the American people have created an extraordinary dynamic. Remember, when you get Trump and Cruz in national polls between them at better than 60% of the vote among Republicans, what they're telling you is that they want very dramatic change. Very competent, smart people like Governor John Kasich are gaining some ground in New Hampshire, but it's uphill because the fact is, if you have a lot of experience in politics, people go, not you. They want somebody who's going to kick in the door and change things dramatically. Cruz, I think, was on a path to be that candidate until Donald Trump showed up. And Trump is so loud and so aggressive that he overshadows everybody.
Well, one of the things the Wall Street Journal is saying is that oftentimes in the media is painting support of Trump and others as anger about what's happening in this country. But really, it's about voters wanting solutions and trying to find candidates who have that solution, which is interesting, being that the quote-unquote party or establishment apparently doesn't have a chosen one this time around. What do you think it means about the state of the Republican Party and where it's at?
Well, I think we're in a tremendous transition period. I think the fact is that the voters who were aroused in an anti-Obama mode in 2010 with the Tea Party really have been frustrated, and frankly, they are angry. I think it's disingenuous to say they're not angry. They'd like solutions, at which point they'd be happy, but they don't see any solutions coming down the road right now. And I think we're at a pivotal point, and one of the challenges of Trump being able to make so much noise is that really smart people like a Marco Rubio or Jeb Bush or Chris Christie or John Kasich, who do have solutions and do have ideas, they almost get drowned out by the sheer noise of the Trump-Cruz fight.
And interestingly enough, it's worth pointing out, when you look at the debate stage, you have a diversity of people and opinions that you don't see on the Democrat side. But the risk that some bring up is that you see what could appear like a fractured party or a fractured platform of what conservatives stand for. Do you think there is a risk of that, or do you think this is actually healthy, moving towards a more cohesive message for the country?
Look, I think it's at a time when we have enormous problems, and at a time when we're in the middle of tremendous changes, particularly technological changes. It's good to have an open debate and to have smart people who are trying out new ideas and trying out new approaches. I think that's much healthier in our party than it is in the Democratic Party, and you see it in the quality and the style of the two debates. But I also think that we're going to get to a nominee probably in March or April when we have a choice between a Hillary Clinton or a Bernie Sanders and the Republican nominee. The Republican Party is going to rally to the nominee, and people are not going to, we're not going to have to worry about this party problem. It'll all come together in the late spring, and then we'll have to have a convention where we find a way to bring all the different elements together with a platform and with 3 or 4 days of working together, so we go into the fall campaign unified. But I think you look at a Hillary Clinton or you look at Bernie Sanders, it's pretty easy to unify Republicans when they're the alternative.
Let me just ask you a quick final question on Ted Cruz, because this was a report out of the LA Times today that these establishment leaders, unnamed establishment leaders in the Republican Party, are hoping for anyone besides Ted Cruz. What do you think of a report like that? Do you think there's some truth in it?
Well, I think Ted made his name by taking on the entire Senate, and the fact is, then the entire Senate gets to take him on. And I think he has done very courageous, very principled things, but he's done them in a way which has created a block of Republican senators who would probably favor almost anybody but Cruz. But that's the cost of how he rose so quickly. He came up very fast. He came up very harshly, and he drew very sharp lines with his colleagues, and now his colleagues are drawing the same lines back.
Interesting. Speaker Gingrich, I know there's a lot more to get to, including about the Democrats. We hope you come back, have more of a conversation. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.